Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Monday, January the 13th. Lovely to have you all in for another episode. Thanks for stopping by. We're going to talk about an impressive list of general manager finalists that the Tennessee Titans have put together and also ask you who you got. It's the final game of Wild Card Weekend, Super Wild Card Weekend, with a little Monday Night Football to wrap us up here between the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Rams. We'll get you out in time to enjoy some playoff football here this evening. Before we do that, need you to share the broadcast around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Wherever you are spending your time with us, it is greatly appreciated if you share this show. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet it in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. I'll do it with you. If you're hanging out on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And if you're on YouTube or Twitch, please do us the courtesy of liking the video and subscribing to the channel while you're there. Text the link to a friend. Text the link to 5. It would make me very happy. Going to be a very busy offseason, so we want to invite as many of you as are interested in hanging out with us all offseason long to share the show around and talk Titans as they get ready to make a decision on the team's general manager situation. As we work our way through these things over the course of the evening, I always appreciate your participation. We'll get to some answers or some questions that you guys have later on in the show. But first and foremost, let's get started. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com, your dream address without the stress. More info, more intel from the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators, Gary Ashton. Of course, Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. By Bart Durham, the Bart Durham Injury Law Group. You deserve to be paid, and they will get you in position to succeed. Go to bartdurham.com for more information. Zen Sports, where betting just gets better. Bet on Monday Night Football here before about 11 and a half minutes before kickoff with the promo code ATOZTN. Finally, TrueMan Fitness in the Gulch. Your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. TrueManFitness.com for more information and the best workout in Middle Tennessee. All right, so Titans general manager, second round of interviews. There are a good list of candidates that have been requested to make a return. There were 10 interviews in the first round. Almost all of them, if I'm not mistaken, were conducted virtually. But now they're going to start bringing people into the building over the course of the week and to conduct these second round of interviews with a list of people that's pretty impressive at this point in time. So right now, you have a handful of individuals who are going to be requested for second round interviews. They include Mike Borgonzi, the Kansas City Chiefs assistant general manager, Ian Cunningham, the Chicago Bears assistant GM, Ed Dodds of the Indianapolis Colts. He's their assistant GM under Chris Ballard. You've got Terrence Gray, the Buffalo Bills director of personnel, John Spytek or Spitek, I haven't quite figured out how to pronounce it, who, by the way, I unprompted got some nice messages about just one person's perspective that used to work with him in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization, but describes him as forthcoming and a very kind individual. Now, does that make him a good personnel man? I don't know, but he's the assistant GM of the Bucs, and he's been requested for a second interview. And then, of course, John Eric Sullivan, the Packers vice president of player personnel, who many of you are interested in, and who I would look at as an intriguing candidate in the midst of all this, though all, honestly, are intriguing candidates. And frankly, it's a longer list of second-round interviews than I thought these might contain. So we'll cover some ground here on those individuals here in just a second. We will also get your Two Rivers Ford take in the comment section. Who is your preferred Titans GM candidate? And it doesn't just have to be on the list of people that they're bringing back for a second round of interviews, but, you know, that is a reasonable place to start at this point. People who missed the cut on that front are Thomas Dimitroff of Sumner Sports, Kat Hickman, who's the vice president of the Browns, Reggie McKenzie, who was thought of potentially as a lead candidate for the job, given his history with both of the remaining remaining entities, and Chad Brinker and Brian Callahan, and then Matt Berry of the Seahawks all missed the initial, we'll call it missed the cut, essentially. Borgonzi, Cunningham, Dodds, Gray, Spitek, and John Eric Sullivan, are your second round of Titans interviewees. All to say that there are a couple of different people who I would look at. And honestly, I think that the list of all of those people is impressive. The thing to note here, of course, is that none of them have ever been a general manager before. So this might be more appealing for a first-time general manager, in quotes. And I know I've described this role in pretty harsh terms. If you were a part of the show where I was also, going off on people who would slander Rand Carthon on the way out the door. I believe I called it the personnel cock situation, which I may have gotten a little carried away, if I'm being completely honest, but that's what primetime's for. Sometimes I get carried away. You guys understand this. And whomever is going to take this job is going to answer to Chad Brinker under the current power structure, where Chad Brinker has the final say over the roster. And, some of you have been pretty critical on that front, understandably so. It just sounds like they're making an assistant general manager hire at this point in time. It's not something that seems overwhelmingly compelling to me personally. Does not seem like a great situation. But if you're a first-time general manager who's basically comfortable with a job that's got parameters, let's say, and all jobs have parameters, right? This job has parameters. Your jobs in your working lives have parameters, but this one has a particular set of parameters based on what they have outlined and the structure that Chad Brinker and Titans president and CEO Burke Nihill have put in place. It's going to come with significant pressure, especially, this job, the Titans organization comes with significant pressure because the owner has an erraticism problem that has borne itself out over the course of these last 3 years. And perhaps this will be the time that they get it right. But for 3 straight years, it seems like they've been getting it wrong. And now you have to look at this GM position pretty uniquely. And that was something that they outlined, right? Unique to their respective organizations is the general manager job. And this one comes with a pretty unique set of circumstances. It also comes with the number 1 overall pick, which is not an unattractive situation, even as optically poor as that Titans job might look. So your Two Rivers Ford take, who is your preferred general manager candidate for the Titans right now? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, while I remind you that Two Rivers Ford makes this show possible. They also make the car buying process fast, easy, and more fun. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. So, do you have a preferred candidate at this point in time as you look around at the list that they have? Chosen says, you are right, Buck. The job isn't really attractive. It's an NFL job. NFL jobs are attractive. Let's start there first and foremost. Even as unattractive as the parameters make this job seem, it is still a general manager job. It does still offer you a unique situation, and it also offers you the ability to help turn a franchise around with a number 1 overall pick. Things look bleak for the Titans right now. I am certainly not going to pump you full of sunshine, easy for me to say, and optimism about this organization. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll say it again until they prove me otherwise. I don't trust them to get it right. I don't trust them at all to get it right. I think that they have gotten things consecutively wrong. I think their mistakes have begotten more mistakes over the course of this 3-year period where they have continued to crash out. And until such time as we see evidence that they've gotten it right, I'm going to continue to think that they'll get it wrong. Now, is that fair necessarily? I think so. You may not, but I don't think it's unfair at all to say, yeah, earn the trust back because you had it for a period of time. You had good equity. You had the trust and the what appeared to be a quality relationship with the fan base. But see how quickly you squandered it when you started making poor decisions and making erratic decisions, and ultimately all of it resulting in losing football at this point in time. Kenston says, y'all chill out about how bad the organization is. Where were the Commanders this time last year? Teams flip all the time from bad to good. Stop being so dramatic. And Kenston's completely right. Now, ironically enough, There are teams that flip from worst to first all the time in the NFL. It didn't happen anywhere, not in a single division this year. There was not a team that went from worst to first in the NFL for the first time. But more often than not, these things do equalize, and a good draft can cover up any manner of your dysfunctions. What Kenston, I think, ignores here, because I think the point is fair to make, but what Kenston ignores here is that the bad can still exist with the organization. And I do believe that this is an organization that is being poorly run at this point in time. And I think that the blame goes directly to the top with Amy Adams-Strunk, and I've made that point several times. But drafting good players and having a winning football product can cover up all that, and then people won't care anymore. It makes it harder to point out your dysfunctions when your dysfunctions are covered up by winning. So, yes, if they flip this thing around and they start winning football games, yeah, it'll cover up a good deal of that. But they're 3-14 right now, and nobody gives a shit about what they say they're going to do. They only care about the actions that they take. And we'll see where the actions that they have, we know where the actions that they have taken have gotten them. They've gotten them to the worst team in football. Now, how they dig themselves out of that hole, if they dig themselves out of that hole, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with having a healthy skepticism about their ability to do that. We'll see where they get and how far they get and whether it's sufficient enough based on what Amy Adams-Strunk's expectations are. All of this, can matter only to a certain extent, because at the end of the day, the decision lies with Amy Adams-Strunk, and not a single person in the world, except for apparently Bert Nihill, who's been empowered to speak on her behalf, can tell you what she thinks about this situation. I mean, save her family and close friends, but obviously they're not willing to talk about what's going on, and even they couldn't tell you what's going on in her head at this point in time. So who's your preferred candidate? Mine is John Eric Sullivan. He is somebody who's been in the Green Bay front office since 2004. He was the director of college scouting in 2016, first 2 drafts that he oversaw, and they landed some significant contributors for the Green Bay Packers on both offense and defense. Blake Martinez, the linebacker, played there for a long time. Kenny Clark has been a staple of their defense. Aaron Jones, who's obviously with the Vikings now, but was a quality player for the Packers for a long time. Promoted to the role as co-director of player personnel in 2018, promoted to vice president of player personnel in 2022, where he has continued to serve in that role. He knows Chad Brinker because Brinker was in Green Bay for 13 years, so there's familiarity there. And it would at least keep in line with the strategy of draft, develop, and retain, or at least the same mentality as you have heard Chad Brinker entertain. All right, so in theory, it should go along with the vision. Now, some of you are saying that basically a yes man to Brinker is all this is. Yeah, that's what the job is. I mean, they've told you what they want the job to be. The job is going to answer to Chad Brinker. Chad Brinker makes the decisions on the football side of things. So if they're hiring based on the parameters that they've outlined, then yeah, that's the guy that makes the most sense. I also think the Green Bay Packers organization is not a bad one to try and emblemize. That's not the right word. To try and recreate. Now, can you recreate what Green Bay has done? I don't necessarily think so, and I think Brian Gutekunst is running that show for a reason. I think he's done an exceptional job. I think that they've hit on many young draft picks, and I think that they have continued that theory of draft, develop, and retain over a period of time. I think they're one of the best developmental organizations in the league, and if you have 2 people who have seen that up close, then perhaps you'll have an opportunity to recreate that. But if you don't, well, then you're just back to square one, and these people are probably going to get fired, and none of it matters, which is what they've shown you. Emulate, Jack Longley. Thank you. That's the word that I was looking for. Sorry, I feel a bit brain dead today. Today's been a weird day on a variety of different fronts, and I don't know that I have all of my cognitive functions. Not that I have a ton of cognitive functions to begin with, but it's been a bizarre day on a variety of different fronts. We'll leave it at that. So with everything that we are looking at right now, they have a list. The list is filled with people who would appear to be quality candidates, except, somebody from the Colts organization is not necessarily somebody I'd be in love with, but maybe they're the anti-Ballard, right? Maybe they've just been held back by Ballard. I don't know. I'm not interviewing these people up close in person, but we will get into more of your comments here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by that beautiful bald man right there. That's Gary Ashton. That's the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com, the official real estate agent of the Nashville Preds and the person who will put you in position to not sell without the intel. GaryAshton.com for more information. A lot of people have asked me about my opinion on the Rand Carthon interview today. I gave it. I gave it on the radio show. I gave it 5 minutes after we concluded the interview, and you can go back and watch those on the radio show if you want. I don't think it does anybody any good to relitigate things here. Although I do, I have seen Kayla tweeting through it. My recommendation would be to stay off social media, and I think that is probably the best place to leave those things at this point. Nothing. I have been somebody who's tweeted through things before, and normally it doesn't end well on a regular basis. So with all that to be said, my preferred candidate would be John Eric Sullivan, because that's what I'm looking for, the parameters that they basically posted that job listing for. And what that job listing is essentially for is somebody who has spent their career as a scout, has been with a top flight organization. Whether or not they are a top level evaluator, I would not know John Eric Sullivan personally to be that, but many people speak highly of him, so you can only go off of that at this point in time. Majority of their career has been spent projecting college players to the National Football League. He fits that mold. Major hand in setting the draft board and preferably, good Lord, a consistent winning organization. And you can see their fingerprints all over the roster. And John Eric Sullivan checks all of those boxes. Now, to an extent, that was also the same or similar parameters that they hired Rand Carthon under. And then they said, well, no, the description for the job that Rand had has changed. So we're moving the goalposts on all these different things. And that was bullshit on a couple of different fronts. And they can make whatever bullshit decisions they want. I just don't happen to agree with that particular decision. I thought it was kind of a cop-out to keep everybody else responsible for 3-14, but fire the one guy, even if the one guy wasn't good enough at his job. And I didn't think Rand Carthon was good enough at his job. I've talked about that a variety of different times. We don't need to relitigate that either. But based on what they've outlined, John Eric Sullivan is the name that makes the most sense. I'd keep an eye on him. We'll see what other offers he has. Right now, who are the opening GM jobs? It's the Titans, the Jets, and the Raiders, I believe, are the only three currently still open at this point in time, or the only three that have come open at this time. And that's kind of where things are at. I think that ultimately there are going to be a couple of people who have options here. John Eric Sullivan may well be one of them. And the thing that you have to keep in mind is, does a person with options really want this job? Depends on what they're paying, I suppose. And the number one overall pick, again, is enticing. But does a person with options take this job? Because this job comes with some pre-made limitations. And that may not be something that you have to deal with in Vegas or that you have to deal with in New York. New York obviously comes with its own different set of challenges. And the Raiders have been a bad organization for a long, long time at this point. So I don't know that that's necessarily the most attractive job. None of these are attractive jobs, right? If they were attractive jobs, they'd be on better football teams. And all these three football teams have collectively been ass for a period of time. And it's going to take a good deal of work to dig themselves out of this. But that's what we'll look at. We'll see how the second round of interviews go, and we'll continue to keep you updated with the latest. We're going to get into who you got between the Vikings and the Rams before this kicks off here in just a second. 104.5. Oh, excuse me. This is A to Z Sports. I've got the radio show on the mind. A to Z Sports Prime Time is made possible by the Bart Durham Injury Law Group. You deserve to be paid, and Bart Durham and his team, rather Blair Durham and his team, will get you the results that you deserve, because they've been doing so for Middle Tennesseans and people in Kentucky for more than 75 years with experience helping people like you, specifically with their automobile accidents. You deserve to be paid. Get your free consultation today at bartdurham.com, the Bart Durham Injury Law Group, for more information. So, who you got? Rams or Vikings tonight? It's a compelling game this evening, and I think there's going to be a lot of different things that I'm looking forward to seeing. One is whether or not Sam Darnold can pick himself up off the mat with a pretty substandard Week 18 performance against a Detroit Lions defense that played well on that particular night, but has been one of the worst defenses in the league. They showed up on that day. Sam Darnold did not. He needs a bounce-back performance, and the Rams defense poses some challenges. Also, the Rams are technically hosting here, but it's a road game for both teams because of the Los Angeles wildfires. This game is being played in Arizona. So also the amount of home field advantage that the Rams might otherwise have. Vikings fans sound like they're going to take over the building. That has a legitimate impact. We will see who comes out victorious. I'm inclined to take the Rams in this situation. I think that I trust Matthew Stafford more. Kevin O'Connell is a quality coach, and God knows he's gotten the most out of what he's working with, and he's working with a lot, but his offensive line situation is not great. Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, the two talented young rookies from Florida State, are a problem up front. Verse is as good as any edge player. Let me not get crazy, but Verse is, I would say, comfortably a top 15 edge player in his rookie season. He's been very, very effective, very disruptive, and I think to have his former teammate able to cause problems in the various ways that they deploy him, it's not like they haven't made up for the loss of Aaron Donald, but they've helped soften the blow of losing Aaron Donald. So I would probably ride with the Rams tonight. Albert is going with the Rams. Browning is going with the Rams for the simple fact that they have Stafford. Need Darnold to do well so that we don't pay him $50 million. You're not going to pay Sam Darnold $50 million. They're going to tag him. There's no discussion of Sam Darnold hitting the free agent market. And until such time as he does hit the free agent market, it's a non-issue because it's fine for Minnesota to tag him for 1 year, let J.J. McCarthy continue to sit behind him. And if the Darnold magic wears off, then they can just let him go. And then you can pay him $50 million to, maybe win 7 games at that point in time. So I picked the Rams, but the Vikings are a challenge, and it should be certainly a close and competitive game. With that, we will welcome in Bert right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports. Promo code ATOZTN gets you in on all the action. Zen Sports is your place to wager. Not too late to place your wager in Zen Sports for Monday Night Football. Up to $100 on your no danger first wager. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Bert, what do you got? See, I've already been through one Napgate, and I'm just going to assume.
Oh, sorry. That's my fault. I must have overslept. Excuse me.
Did you also happen to leave a particular Kentucky quarterback's pro day early?
I was not there, nor can I confirm. I'd rather just talk about some shit I saw on the internet this week, because if Titans fans are going to be upset about their team, I think I have a new sport that they could engage in. Can I interest you in professional lacrosse?
You may.
Now Thomas Whitty heads up off the bench, big hit. And now Belter goes right at Elijah Gash, and we got a tilt. Gash and Belter throwing haymakers. Gash gets his helmet off. Belter goes with him. They're dropping the gear. Here we go. Gash with a heavy right and an extra right.
Love it.
Is this pro lacrosse? I don't think I've ever seen them like in a lacrosse match. Maybe I'm not watching enough lacrosse. Do they drop the gloves regularly in lacrosse?
I was unaware. I was blissfully unaware of the violence that could happen in a game that I thought was only for men that were like built for soccer. But now that I learned that they're out here throwing hands, I'm down with that. I know Las Vegas has a professional team. I know that for a fact. But just the fact that this contains one, I assume, a legal hit in lacrosse, and two, that
I didn't see a penalty or a flag thrown or anything like that. Run it back. Let's see it again.
What is the issue here? Where does he just get knocked out for like the penalty box here?
Now Thomas Whitty heads up off the bench, big hit. And now Belter goes right at Elijah Gash, and we got a tilt. Gash and Belter throwing haymakers. Gash gets his helmet off. Belter goes with him. They're dropping the gear. Here we go. Gash with a heavy right and an extra right.
I mean this in the most polite way possible. Whenever someone gets knocked out and then they start like doing like the robot, like from the Chappelle skit, they got clobbered. Even the refs like holding the guy down, like, let him get up. He can do a cartwheel, and that guy, he's not going to do anything. The dude's loopy. Like, what are we doing?
So it's Elijah Gash of the Toronto Rock, unfortunate last name, with the Buffalo Bandits defender, Zach Belter. The the hit. I'm trying to figure out if the hit was a legal hit because before the fight actually started. Oh, this is the son of Sam Gash, the Ravens fullback? Did you know
Oh,
this?
Sam Gash, his mom, Molly Gash. Speaking of the Ravens, glad you brought the Ravens up.
I hate you so much.
Mike Florio. Mike Florio is always talking shit, always running his mouth, always got something to say.
Can't relate.
Yeah, you are Nashville's Mike Florio in this case. Last year, going into Christmas, the Ravens played the 49ers, and Mike Florio pledged that the 49ers were going to rip this masquerade off the Ravens, and you were going to see the real team, and they were going to kick the Ravens' ass. And the Ravens beat the shit out of the 49ers on Christmas. This is what Mike Florio had to say before this week's playoff game between the Ravens and the Steelers.
Russell Wilson has a history of thriving in the postseason. Lamar Jackson has a history of failing in the postseason. And when Lamar Jackson tries to talk his way out of his history, he only puts more pressure on himself. When he comes out and says, I feel more nervous, I feel more antsy in the postseason, but I'm past that now. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because when you go out there for the first drive of a game that is win or go home, when you're favored by 9.5 points, you will feel the pressure. Oh, yes, you will. Now, how will you deal with it? That remains to be seen. But the pressure only increases until you change the narrative.
You will.
The pressure on you arising from the existing narrative only gets stronger and stronger. That's where I'm torn on this. Because I could see Russell Wilson not fumbling at the 3-yard line, not throwing a pick six to Marlon Humphrey.
Right.
I could see Lamar Jackson, something screwy happening there. And, missed field goal by Justin Tucker. I just think, and this reminds me, and I think we said this earlier in the week as well, when Dan Campbell said to Kevin O'Connor after the Sunday night game,
Boo,
maybe
I'm
we'll see
Chad
in a couple
Breaker,
weeks.
and
The
I'm
pressure's
also
all going
not
to
a
be on
big
the
fan
lines
of
if there's
this
a
interview.
rematch there. The pressure's all on the Ravens. At home, 9.5-point favorites, 34-17 to mislead.
Shut your mouth, you idiot! You idiot! I should have known this was stupid from the first second.
Russell Wilson has a history of thriving in the postseason.
Shut up! You're a moron! Go away! That's what I have to say about
I'm
that.
happy for you that your football team won. I want your football team to win the Super Bowl because I want to see Derrick Henry get a ring.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Titans fans already hate me. What the hell? I might as well pull for the Ravens.
You guys want to look through some Ravens cards I got back? We got a nice Lamar Jackson back.
Nobody can see that with the glare.
Chris Johnson auto. It's a 10. Bang. That's what's going on in my neck of the woods. You can out-roker the rest of this shit.
Get off.
Have a good night.
Get out of here. That's going to do it for us tonight. Enjoy the playoff football radio show 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone tomorrow. We look forward to your presence there. I'll see you then. Enjoy the football.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville. Go home!